right, in this video we're going to talk about adjustment layers. This is how you edit your images. You make them brighter, you make them darker, add contrast, change the color, maybe make them black and white. Okay, so there's a couple options, a couple ways on how you can get to the adjustment layers. So in Photoshop, everything has to do around the layer panel. We've already talked about that, right? So before they added adjustment layers, you would have to go to image, adjustments, and then modify your layers this way or your images this way. This is an okay method. However, this does not give you a method to come back and change if you need to make changes later. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So if I wanted to change the brightness and contrast of this layer, this image, what it's going to do is bring up this dialog. I can adjust these settings a little bit as I wanted and then hit OK. However, you can see that's it. Like, I can't change it. Okay, so this is a terrible way to do it. So don't ever go this way. I just showed you because somebody's going to find this way. Do not go to image adjustments. Okay, what you're going to do instead is you're either going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and select one of the adjustments. Go to window, adjustments, or come down here on the layer panel and choose one of the adjustment layers. Okay, so right now we're going to go to the window method. So window adjustments, since I've already opened that. You're going to click on the first one. So for this project, this picture, we're going to do a brightness contrast adjustment and a hue saturation adjustment. All right, so we're going to click on brightness contrast. You can already see the difference between the first way I showed you and this way. It gave me a layer right here. Okay, and then it gave me my settings here that I can come in and change. It also gave me an auto feature. So if I hit auto, Photoshop does a pretty good job at figuring out, okay, let's see what we can do to make this picture a little bit better. Okay, you as the photographer or photo editor have complete control. You can always come in here and modify this if you're not happy with the results you got from that adjustment. Okay, so for this assignment, a lot of photographers or a lot of editors, when they first start in Photoshop, they like to bump this up and make it look kind of crazy. We're not going to do that. All right, don't do something like this. We're going to do something simple. I want it to appear as if we are looking at this image as if we were there, right? If we were standing right in front of this temple. Okay, so don't make it too crazy. Just do a slight adjustment. Your numbers do not have to represent mine. They don't have to be the same. This is what looks good to my eye. All right, so the next thing you're going to do, that's your brightness contrast, is come back to the adjustment panel. And if you don't see it, again, you can go to window, adjustments, and it should be here. Go to adjustments. I'm just going to I got all these panels open. I'm going to close these out real quick. So let's go close tab group. Okay, there we go. So now I just have my adjustments and my layer stack. All right, so I'm going to go to hue saturation. And now I want to show you some of these adjustment layers do have presets. All right, so just like on your phone has presets. Well, so does Photoshop. I can click here and come in here and let's increase the saturation just a little bit. So I'm going to click increase saturation and see what happens. Okay, it's not too bad. You can see that if I go to the saturation slider, it has increased it +10. If I like it, I can leave it. If I want to increase it more, I can either bring the slider up, which is way too much. I can use the scrubby zoom, which is this. If I put my cursor right on the word saturation, it'll bring that handle down. Okay, or you can type in a number right here. All right, so there's 3 ways to adjust it. So we're just going to go ahead and bump up the saturation just a little bit. Okay, there are some other options in here. You can see that the default setting is 0. You can adjust those as needed. We're going to leave this set to 0. We're not going to colorize this one. That's another assignment. You could also do lightness, but we're not going to do that one either. So just give it a little bit of saturation, and then we can basically call this done. But let's say I wanted to come back in and modify my brightness contrast now that I've made my hue saturation adjustment. What I can do is double click on the circle and come back in, and it allows me to readjust if I need to. So if I thought this was too contrasty or too like dark, in the shadows, I could bring this down just a little bit. That's the great thing about these adjustment layers, is that it lets you come back in and modify and change things as you need to. Okay. All right, so we are done with this image. It looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and turn it in. So we're going to go to File, Save As. You probably have already saved it. I know the first way I saved it was Red Dirt. We're going to call this Red Fort. You can leave it Red Dirt if you want. I'm on my work computer. I was at my home computer before. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit, make sure it's a Photoshop document. First initial, last name, underscore either Red Dirt or Red Fort. And then hit save. Yes, okay. And then I'm going to export. So at the beginning, we learned how to adjust the quick export in the preference panel. I have not adjusted that here on my work computer. It still says JPEG. Yours might say PNG. That is okay as well. So you can either do a quick export as a PNG or a JPEG, depending on what your computer is set to. By this point, it should be set to PNG. So I'm just going to hit quick export as JPEG, make sure it's going into my student U drive. I'm sorry, we're going to create a new folder and title it adjustment layers. All right, so we know where this goes. And then you're going to make sure this should say JPEG or PNG, first initial, last name, underscore Red Fort or Red Dirt, and hit save, and then hit yes. All right, now you can turn these files into the assignment in Classroom, but do not hit submit on the assignment just yet, because we have one more photo that we're going to go in and edit to turn in with this one.